Well, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. This is actually our quarterly, but this is our quarterly meeting and our final meeting of the year. So before anything happens, I want to say thanks to everyone on another great year. Lots of work accomplished across the entire region, and we got more to do coming up to close out BP5 through June 2024. So it's hard to believe that that we're at the end of 2023, but it is what it is, as they say. Sometimes the older I get, the faster time seems to travel. So, all right, this is our basic agenda. We got the basic stuff on tap today. A few added things that we will talk about. I am going to provide a update on the capabilities, um, the ASPR capabilities or Healthcare Coalition HPP capabilities update that we received from the National Healthcare Coalition Preparedness Conference about a week and a half ago. So that'll be interesting. And then we're going to talk integrated preparedness plan, how we're going to be moving forward. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start off with a roll call. We'll start with our hospitals, starting with Anderson Hospital.
Good morning, Phil. Eric Brandmeier is here for Anderson and Community Hospital Staunton.
Buenos dias. Hey, Eric, quick question. While I got you here and we're talking Staunton as well, is the plan to stay with you or Anderson overseeing Staunton for the foreseeable future?
Yes.
Okay, so there are no vacant positions over there. I did get the question asked, so
Okay. Somebody looking for a job or?
of course, as always.
Okay. I'm sure I could find some place to get me some help, but
Okay.
in answer to your question, no, I suspect I'll be doing that for a while. So.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Thanks, sir. Alton Memorial.
This is Aaron.
Gotcha, Aaron. Appreciate it. Boyd. Nancy, were you trying to speak? I did hear some stuff going on. Anyone from Boyd? Okay, Carlinville Area Hospital.
Tyler's here.
Gotcha, Tyler. Thank you very much. We already got Staunton. Fayette. I know Tina's on somewhere.
I'm here.
Good morning, Tina. Gateway. That's 4 Mississippi's. Anyone from Gateway? How about our HSHS partners, starting with Holy Family?
Cindy's here from Holy Family.
Thank you, Cindy. How about St. E's? Anyone from St. E's? Nope. St. Joseph Hospital in Breeze? And what about Highland? Okay. Jersey Community Hospital?
Nathan's here.
Gotcha. Thanks, sir. Over to Memorial Hospital Belleville, you got myself, Lee, Mike Gilbert. We're all on. I don't know if Scott was able to join or if he's working today. Down to Memorial Hospital in Chester.
I'm here, Phil.
Oh, gotcha, Scott. Thank you very much. And Memorial Hospital in Chester.
This is Georgia. I'm here.
Thank you, Georgia. How about OSF St. Anthony's? From St. A's. Okay. Redbud.
This is Tara. I'm here.
Good morning, Tara. Sparta.
Dale from
Dan.
Sparta is here, Phil.
So's Dan.
Got Dale and Dan. All righty. Perfect. And anyone from Touche? All right. Hearing none, we'll go up to our health departments. Bond County.
This is Wendy for Bond County.
Good morning, Wendy. Calhoun County. Clinton County. Eastside Health District. Fayette County. Greene County?
In the chat, Molly Peters.
Oh, I
is on.
see Molly. Yep. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Chuck. Jersey? No one from Jersey. Macoupin County? Madison County? Monroe County?
Vicky here.
Thank you, Vicky. Randolph County?
I forgot to send you their contact info. I'll send it to you after this meeting.
Okay. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. St. Clair.
Good morning, this is Kara. I'm here.
Good morning, Kara. Sounds like all the health departments are out, still working off Thanksgiving. We'll give them a pass. They're working off that Thanksgiving turkey because I know I am. Let's see. Community partners out here. Greg, IDPH, you on?
I'm on, Phil.
Thanks, sir. Beth, our emergency response coordinator. Thank you, thank you. Did you give everybody the day off today?
Don't you think they deserve it?
Yes, I do. That's what I said. I still got some of Patty's pies at my house that I got to eat. That's not an endorsement for Patty LaBelle's pies, but I still got some of that left. Let's see. Our BJC partners. Anyone from BJC on? Not hearing any. Okay.
Yeah, good morning, Phil. Sean's here.
Oh, awesome, Sean. Thank you very much. Any of our EMAs on, emergency management agencies on?
Good morning, Phil. It's Sam.
Thank you, Sam. Anyone else from EMAs? Okay, MedStar. I know we got Chuck on. John on today.
Yeah, John's with you, sir.
Good. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Anyone from Abbott today? How about SLU?
Good morning, Phil. Helen Sandquil, SLU.
Good morning, Helen. Thank you very much. How about our Scott Air Force Base partners? Tim, you on today? Maybe out of town. All right. Any of our folks from STARS or the St. Louis Regional Healthcare Coalition? Once, twice, thrice? All right. Well, we'll get on to moving and we'll start out with any due outs and open tasks. These are actually from the previous meeting. Those are closed, and I did review the previous ones. Those have been closed out, except for one, which we'll discuss here a little bit later. I think it's at Eric in the chat. I know the VA is there. So Eric, if that's you, just put your name in there and I'll make sure you're counted. Or if it's someone else, please put your info in there. Let's go ahead and start out with Greg.
Good morning, everyone. Once again, Phil, I'll let you deal with the HPP stuff. I don't have anything pressing other than the stuff you've been involved in on the meetings with Teresa. I will say, as I told the EMS group previously today, that our hospitals do appear to me to be busy. We have several that have had to go on peak census over the last few days. I try to eyeball the numbers every morning. Looks like we have about 10 ICU beds in the region. We have less than 100 med surge. And those are all typical indicators that the region is picking up. So if anybody does identify any particular epidemiological cause for our increase in ED or ICU patients, shoot that to either myself or to Beth. I know the health departments monitor that stuff, and maybe Beth will have some kind of report on that. But if someone is to know that, Dan Lee sent out the latest bed report. I believe it was yesterday or the day before. And I want to give a gold star kudos to Touche. I don't know if they're on the line, but They have been at 100% for the last 12 months. And maybe someday they might share how they are accomplishing that, as well as OSF St. Anthony, who didn't make 12 months, but they made 11 out of 12 at 100%. So kudos to them as well, and maybe they could share what they have set up to make sure that they're meeting that requirement. Everybody else, please make sure you review your numbers. Some of you have good numbers, some of you not so good numbers. So make sure that you're looking at those. And other than that, Phil, that's all I have, unless somebody has any questions.
Thanks, Greg. Any questions for Greg? All right, hearing none, we'll move over to the Public Health Department. Beth?
Hello, good morning, everyone. Happy St. Nicholas Day. Hope you got some chocolate in your shoes this morning.
Ooh, very nice.
So a couple of things. And I'm sure you guys all know this, the numbers are going up. According to CDC, the numbers are definitely on the uphill, but as of last week, they're still not as high as they were a year ago. And that affects just about all age groups, but specifically 65 and older, and the little ones with the RSV, 2 and under especially. So yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed. Nationwide, the South is much higher levels than anywhere else in the country, except I think maybe it was either Alaska or Hawaii. Louisiana has the highest rates in the country right now, but specifically the Southeast and California are seeing higher numbers than the rest of the country. Not sure why. That's usually the other way around. It usually starts at the north and heads south. They didn't have a reason why that was happening. The CDC is putting out, of course, lots of information, lots of data. One of the things that I took note of is instead of calling this cold and flu season, they are switching to the term fall and winter flu season. The reason is, of course, you do see some of this respiratory illness in the fall, but they wanted to take the word cold out so that people would take it more seriously, that this is not just the cold, this is flu and other respiratory viral illnesses that are affecting everyone. Another note that doesn't really affect us, but I thought was interesting for those of us in Illinois. The CDC has a little bit of money and they are doing a vaccination campaign. They selected about a dozen media markets throughout the country, specifically looking at the social disparities and low vaccine update. And one of those areas was Rockford, Illinois. So they're paying for social media ads. They're also paying for broadcast media, both radio and television, and other types of websites where they can put an ad. The other thing I wanted to mention, in case you haven't seen it, the FEMA just released, I think they released it yesterday, but I didn't see it until today, their updated National Preparedness Report. And it caught my eye because it specifically mentions public health. So it talks about, let me see if I can pull it up here again. It included focused discussions on 4 capabilities. fire management and suppression, logistics and supply chain management, which I know we all were affected by that, specifically public health, healthcare, and EMS. And the last one is long-term vulnerability reduction. I can put the link in the chat. I thought it was interesting, and it probably will affect everyone that's on this call, at least gives some of their what they found and what their recommendations are. And last thing I want to talk about is the eclipse. We are doing more and more planning for that. I will be reaching out to some of the local health departments, and I know some of the hospitals are affected and planning for that too. So I believe that's all I had. Thanks,
Thank
Phil.
you. No, thank you, Beth. Any questions for Beth?
I do.
Go ahead, John.
Beth, it's John Nowak.
Hi.
Hey, the eclipse meetings, I am not seeing anything on that. I'm not quite sure if it's maybe because I may be too far away from it, but I do know it's running through part of our region. So I haven't seen much on the meetings on that at all. But my big question is, of course, I didn't hear you say anything. You may have, I may have missed it. But is there anything to this overseas crap that's going on again? I've been watching CDC and I'm not seeing much on that. Is it something that really don't even need to be talked about? Or is it something that we know the CDC's keeping their eye on?
So,
From China?
Yeah, I was going to say you have to be more specific. What specifically are you, the increase in disease in China?
Yeah, yes. I mean, again, you hear all this crap on the social media and news networks. I'm just curious if you are, or if you're seeing something on CDC that I'm not being able to find, of any worries of it stepping out of their country.
I can double check on that. I will say that on the CDC call I was on yesterday, which was actually just a recording from the week before that I missed, they are seeing an increase in a new variant. I forgot what the letters were, but it does not have the letter B in it. It's something a little bit different. But they're doing studies on it, and so far, the vaccine is very effective against that new variant, unless that's something that they're seeing in China. And you're right, it is hard
Hey,
to find
Beth.
things on CDC. Yes.
So I think what John's referring to, there have been a lot of news reports about long lines at the EDs for Chinese, especially children. I mean, like really long lines. But the last thing that I saw from the CDC was that it was all known respiratory virus and no novel. But John is correct. There has been quite a bit of news coming out of China about long lines, especially amongst children with respiratory illness.
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you, Greg, because that's exactly what I'm seeing. And so, yeah, thank you, sir.
I have not heard anything. They did not mention it on the CDC call. I could do some checking to see if I can find anything, but it sounds like you've been doing the same. And I have not heard anything, but I can check.
Thanks, Beth. Any follow-ups or questions for Beth? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on. And I didn't hear any of our stars compadres on, but are there any updates for stars? Maybe someone else jumped on while I didn't see. And how about the St. Louis Regional Healthcare Coalition? Does anyone have any updates on their, I don't call it a summit or conference, but do we have any updates on that, how that went?
Phil, St. Louis University Hospital hosted that summit for the Healthcare Coalition, and it was terrific. We had about 80 people in attendance, and the speakers were awesome. And I think it's going to be even better next year.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Helen, for that. Glad to hear there was some good feedback from it. I'm sure more to come in the future, and I know that we've had some plans. Unfortunately, COVID disrupted the initial plans for us to host something similar, but we are still looking to do something like that for our side of the river. So we will see. All right. So thank you. All right. Remer, Mike, are you on? If not, I'll fall back to Lee. Lee, any updates?
Truth be told, at the moment, no real updates. The last things that we had was the apartment fire in Touche. We've really not had much going since then. We are in the works right now, working with some of our partners to develop some additional specialized training more towards the austere environment, the non-standard EMS environment. And then we did actually just do a CPR first aid course for a group of Boy Scouts, with another one coming as a kind of community outreach program. But beyond that, we're just plucking along.
Appreciate it. While I'm thinking about community outreach, John, or I don't know if Leanne joined, but John Nowak, did you guys get an opportunity to do some of those Stop the Bleed courses? I know we talked about that last meeting.
No, unfortunately, there was some schedule conflict. And then when we were actually going to meet, we ended up with some sick individuals. So we did not get to do that class.
Okay. That's unfortunate. Hopefully we can get that rescheduled. All right. Yep. And I do know we do have some training. We'll talk about that upcoming, some additional training I know for Remer coming up.
Hey, Phil, what was that, this is Eric, what was that class that you just spoke of as far as Stop the Bleed?
Yeah, it was a stop. John, if you want to talk to it, I probably need to go over my notes from the last meeting, but go ahead, John.
Yes. What it was somebody had reached out to us from one of the local school districts. And so they wanted us to bring in the Stop the Bleed program into the school. I think there was going to be close to 40, maybe 50 teachers and everybody, janitors, everybody was involved in the school district. That was the plan, sir. Unfortunately, we're going to keep at that. I do know that there were some other schools that kind of showed some very strong interest after they've heard about it, some other school districts. So I see that coming. But unfortunately, between schedule conflict and then when we all had it set, then we ended up with some folks that ended up with COVID, so we couldn't do the class. But it is just to Stop the Bleed and major first aid for active shooter is what it was for.
Is John, is that a school district that would be geographically incorrect for us to help you out?
Oh, no. Any help with it? Yeah.
Okay.
It was a Belleville school district.
Okay.
And, there's 2 Belleville school districts here. And now they both are looking at it. We are going to get that rescheduled, Eric. And if you'd be interested, yeah, because with that many people, the more folks that we have helping, the quicker and the better I think the class will go.
Yeah, the logistics on that would be pretty great because myself and an Eversole firefighter years ago essentially single-handedly trained the Eversole School District nurses, and that was just in itself nasty because there was so many. But it was a great opportunity, and if you get that rescheduled, please let us know. We have a number of instructors throughout our system as well.
I just want to throw this out there too, Phil, since we're talking this. 2022 STARS, I know there was nobody from STARS here, but the EMS committee and the hospitals got together and we filled out an IJ and we got awarded a Stop the Bleed program. That funding is going to be coming up pretty shortly. And the only reason why I bring it up is because it is a huge program. The funding states that we cannot use or teach fire departments or local police departments. It's all outreach. But with this program, they are providing all the training supplies for 10 stations or 10 organizations. And then these small, I hate always calling them active shooter kits, but that's what they're called. But that we can actually distribute to churches, schools, Boy Scouts. It was like $300,000 worth of Stop the Bleed equipment and supplies that we can leave with these organizations. I just want to throw that out there because that's going to be huge for all of us. That money won't have to come out of our pockets anymore. And we should be able to really reach out to a lot of folks within our communities. And that's all within the STARS region. So just to throw that out there.
I appreciate that, John. I appreciate that. And while we're talking Stop the Bleed, I want to pause a second. I know we got Eric Perham from the VA on. I did want to toss it over to him. I'm normally put you on the spot, but I did want to ask a question on or follow up. How did the active shooter exercise go? Were you guys able to participate or conduct that exercise?
So yeah, Phil, we did run the exercise on November 8th as projected. It was actually nice because we had some Hope Coalition folks, mainly it was Kim Lamprick and Kelly from Columbia that came out and did the moulage. And for something that large of scale where we actually pulled in FBI, DHS, and various other federal entities, as long as, with our state and city partners, because, what real interesting about John Cochran and JB is that they are both separately regulated federally. And so with John Cochran, what we found is because of the jurisdiction, the city can come into the facility at any time. They don't have to stop off and, get permission to enter a federal facility. So when we ran the exercise, there's a lot of things that we were able to flush out, as well as being able to look at a script for running future active threat exercises, because we're trying to do one here in JB in 24. So one of the things that something that large, and then really relying on a couple of folks from other systems to come out, observe, see how we were doing it, to kind of take notes as well, but also to give us some good honest feedback. So I'm in the process of writing that AAR up, and I have no reservations in being able to get that out to you guys so you can take a look and see what we came up with. But yeah, the magnitude of these large scale exercises are starting to increase, because what we're starting to find is that we all really do a great job of sounding how good we are on paper and our ability to write up these grandiose plans. But when we don't really work with each other on the daily, and now we have something this large, we start to find that there's a lot of little details in between us that kind of create some challenges and interoperability. And so what we were able to do is kind of figure some of those out. And so that's where some of the AR will be discussing. But yeah, I know the same day that we ran ours, children ran theirs. I think theirs was a little more internal. I don't know how many city assets they were able to pull for their particular exercise, but use of moulage and having observer controllers and doing stuff along those lines really helped facilitate an exercise that for the, what is being discussed, highly regarded, at least among the VA systems. So it's been an interesting dynamic. So thanks, Bill.
No, thank you. Appreciate you sharing, and looking forward to taking a look at your guys' AR as well with children's. As you guys know, I think we talked about it last meeting as well. We are scheduled for a springtime one here at Memorial Hospital. So across both campuses here in Shiloh and Belleville, we'll be participating or conducting an exercise. And we will be looking for some support from the region with regard to moulage. We put on that big moulage class, so we'll be looking for some support for moulage and some observers. So can't wait to see how you guys fared in that one. Thank you very much. All right. Okay, so I'm going to kind of shift gears and just provide a small update with regard to the ASPR capabilities, the HPP capabilities that were briefed by ASPR during the National Healthcare Coalition Preparedness Conference that both myself and your regional clinical advisor, Scott Klosterman, attended last week, or week before last, I should say, just right after Thanksgiving. So it was, all in all, just say beneficial conference. Did I get everything we wanted out of ASPR? No, but did pull away a few nuggets there, which I'll kind of discuss. Took some of these from their briefing, and one of the things that I think we talked about maybe 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, was the changing of those capabilities, preparedness and response capabilities. Most of you know that we started with 8, then we went to 4, and now we're back to 8. Now, these 8 are not the same 8 as we had previous years, but we are transforming these into 8 capabilities. So as you can see them there: incident management, coordination, information management, patient movement and distribution, workforce resources, operational continuity, specialty care, and community integration. Those would be the new breakdowns. And there will be some supporting, obviously, information that goes along with these, but they're not fully vetted and changed yet. But these are the 8 that they're going to land on. So I found that there were a few notable ones here that, that weren't on the first draft of these. One being workforce, and the other being community integration. Also, other notable ones, you see patient movement and distribution and information management. I do think at every healthcare, whether it's conference or education that you see nowadays, you're going to see something surrounded by information management and vulnerabilities and stuff like that, so to speak. So I say that because at every one of their events, you would see CISA, or the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, providing information. So at the Healthcare Caucus, at the International Association of Emergency Managers, we had an hour with their director, and that's where the focus is with a lot of this. So, whether it's software or malicious logic, attacks on healthcare, they're seeing that healthcare is being attacked more and more because of the vulnerabilities that are there. Many large systems have very robust defenses, but even the largest still get hacked, so to speak, and that escalates that for those who are independent hospitals and facilities. So more to come on these changes. As you can see, as far as the evolution of these capabilities, you can kind of see that right now, like you see, the new capabilities are aiming to address insights learned from COVID. So obviously that had a lot of influence, speak to all entities within the healthcare preparedness and response function, and foster equity. You're going to see more and more. So each year, health equity has been, with regard to the HPP and ASPR, has been receiving a larger and larger focus. I'm going to suspect that in the notice of funding opportunity, when it finally comes out, that it will probably really address health equity. And I know sometimes when we hear the focus being on health equity, as you can see, the new capabilities focusing health care workforce, health equity, et cetera. But we keep seeing that more and more often. I would say this is that it's not like a one size fit all health equity that they're looking at. So I think some folks, at least in the conversations that I'd had during the conference, some folks think of it as more so a focus on inner city areas. Areas like Eastside Health District, some parts of St. Louis, et cetera. But they do have what I would say a very balanced approach, because they're looking at both the inner city and maybe underserved communities, as well as the rural areas where we know we have, I don't want to say health deserts, but we have areas where folks do not have the exact access that they need. But I'm looking at Georgia now, that may have a high migrant community in their area, and language deficiencies and other things like that. So they're really trying to hit all markers there. So I thought some of those briefings that we attended there were really good. And the one big one on here, patient distribution. So it really sounds like there isn't a model across the entire country that, well, we know it isn't a model, but the focus is that a lot of states do not have a means in which they communicate the status of their hospitals, what resources that are available, how you can easily or determine when we're in surge operations and not. So I think in Illinois, we're slightly ahead of that curve, just based on not just our relationships, because those are great, but the use of EM resource, no matter how much we like it or dislike it, but those we do have some tools that foster that, and being able to help load balance and provide folks, whether it's in an MCI or just a daily surge, we do have those. But I was shocked to see that there are many states and regions out there that don't have those basic capabilities to them, or they're using it in a very different manner. And it does not provide them the insight that I think we kind of take for granted on a day-to-day basis, or what we have access to. So capabilities, they're under their pre-release review. So as you can kind of see, those 4 phases there, they are in phase 4. So they have shared the capabilities with around 3,000 partners. I'm expecting the next one to hit the states, and we should be seeing something fairly soon. From Teresa and the good folks at IDPH, getting their copy of it, a pre-release version of it, because we have not been privy to that yet. But it sounds like that's the next step. Not sure how much feedback they're going to want from us at this point, but that is the next step. And here are the core tenets in which they're building on. So again, addressing the community's needs, building connectivity. And again, you see that in that last sentence there, in the building connectivity, ensuring all people have equitable access to care. So, and that's all folks, again, like I said, from the inner cities out to the most rural parts of our state. And focus on saving lives. They've kind of simplified things. So, and when I say they've simplified things, that kind of drives right over into the notice of funding opportunity. One of the things that they touted, which her name was Lisa, I can't remember her last name, but when she provided the briefing, one of the things that she touted was the difficulty and the prescriptive nature of the notice of funding opportunity, what ASPR wanted to have from all the healthcare coalitions everywhere. They understood that all healthcare coalitions are not the same. Some have a response role, some don't. Some just focus on community education training, et cetera. So they felt like they were providing a too prescriptive of language within that didn't allow enough flexibility for coalitions to do what they felt needed to be done, but still fulfilled those 8, as you can kind of see, those 8 core capabilities that we talked about earlier. So one of the things again that she touted was we're going to go from 111 pages. She wouldn't give a number after that, but substantially smaller. And I had an opportunity to talk with her on a sidebar and just ask a few questions. I presume it's going to be from somewhere around 50 pages. And if you read any grant language, if you go from something that's 100 and something pages down to something 50 pages, you're probably thanking the heavens. And that's how I felt when I got a good warm fuzzy in speaking with her regarding how the new NOFO will work. But again, outcome driven. They're going to try to streamline everything. Flexibility, again, they'll be less prescriptive, understanding that like they say, the healthcare landscape changes in readiness across multiple healthcare coalition. And then they will be looking for facilitating, coordination across each coalition. What that says to me is that maybe there's again more focus on exercises, but hopefully they won't say you'll do this specific exercise by this date all time. They did not discuss the Mercy. They did have the Mercy exercise that we do each year. They did have a side booth that talked about the Mercy. I was unable to attend that one there. Again, the outcome themes that they talked about, they want to clearly communicate those HPP objectives for funding. And again, continuity of healthcare service. I mean, some of these are really looked at a multi-year things that are not going to be do this again at this time this year, stuff that goes across multiple years. So we'll see how that kind of looks. Here are some other focus areas that they talked about. Again, cybersecurity. I talked about CISA, expanding the expansion of telehealth, coordination between healthcare entities, and again, patient movement. So these are where I can probably see some of the goals for the next budget period, the next 5 years. These are probably the areas in which they're going to want to see an increased presence or activity, and to what level, still to be determined. But I am looking forward to seeing what that is. Yeah, so they are still seeking some public comments out there. And again, this is what was received from folks out there. So some of those general topics talk about, again, load balancing, patient movement, yada, yada. You see that word health equity again. All right. So I'm going to pause there and ask if anybody had any questions. One about the conference. We're going to probably send out some more. I don't know if you guys took a chance or opportunity to read some of the blog style emails we sent from the International Association of Emergency Managers, but we did download, Scott and I, mostly Scott, he did get copies of all of the presentations there. Maybe we can put them out for folks to review. Again, they're in PDF version, so you may not, I don't think they have all the notes or anything like that associated with them. We may put them out for download so everyone can take a look at those at their leisure and see what the National Healthcare Preparedness Conference kind of really looks like from afar, and maybe get a little more insight on what those discussion topics are, and maybe you want to attend in the future. That'd be great for a project request for each of you if that's something you chose to do. So any questions with regard to the conference at all, or the HPP capabilities?
Bill, it's John.
Yes, sir.
Hey, as you said, you guys kind of pushed out some blogs. There were some links that you guys sent out. I think it was maybe the second or third day that you were there. Unfortunately, I don't have them up in front of me, but they were help with planning, tabletops. Do you remember them off the top of your head? I think one was something school, and I actually got to play with them since you sent them out. There was some pretty cool stuff. I mean, it was very interesting on how they get the different organizations to work together to come together in an EOC. Do you remember any of those links that I'm talking about?
I mean, I do. I'd probably have to pull. I did have one up that I could share. I didn't know if you were talking about. They had one from. They had we tended a brief from Stanford, and I'm trying to remember the style. But this was an exercise version of it. I'm not sure exactly. Let me see if I can pull these up because I do have.
Yeah,
them.
unfortunately, I don't have the capability, but I'm going to tell you, I played with the one, and that was and I mean, I watched the whole demo on it, and then it actually lets you play. It gives you a link to go play, and it was quite interesting how the mindset of getting people to come out of their organizations and start looking at things as an overall picture.
Mhm.
It was a software. I cannot remember the name. I do remember it was something school, and but I think it'd be worth our while to look into it.
Yeah, I would say that during IAM, Lee, you may remember the name of that game. I can't remember
The
the name of it.
Extreme.
Yeah, that was
That's
pretty cool.
it. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty cool to see. I think that was an awesome way to kind of get some engagement and get folks out of their I won't say comfort zone, but get them involved. And we'll try to brief on those. I believe that and the one that we talked about. I don't know if you saw the one about earthquake preparedness, but it was really based around an artistic approach. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's called Quake Heroes. And this is something we will talk about next month a little more in depth. But the short of it is that Quake Heroes is a husband and wife team that kind of started up. One guy, his name's Mark Romano, and his wife Victoria Romano. She's kind of the business face side of it. He's the creative, but they shot a docudrama based on a Northridge earthquake back in the day. For those of you who remember the Northridge quake, and after that, what they do is they show this docudrama, kind of gets folks in their emotions and their feelings a little bit, but then they supplement that and follow it up with some actual preparedness training. So it is like a feature film. I mean, I don't know how long it is, if maybe it's an hour and a half or something like that. But then they follow it up with actual earthquake training and a few other things. For those of you that recall, 2016, 2017, we did conduct some healthcare infrastructure earthquake preparedness training, and it was a great success. And we want to follow up with that, coming up again after 5 years after that last one. So we want to follow that up with some other stuff. And we're looking at this as a potential way, just a kind of a different way to skin a cat, get some more community involvement, as well as actually have some stuff where we have the hospitals and other healthcare entities increasing their preparedness. We all know it's not if, but when we do have another large quake here from the New Madrid. So we want to be prepared. We got some time, but nobody knows when that time is up. So that was awesome as well. So appreciate that, John. We'd like to do more of that in the future and provide, other opportunities like that. So. All right. Just quickly, upcoming events. We do have 2 dates, one tomorrow and one next week. I think Lee's already sent out an email. Lee, do you want to talk to us about the PPE at the warehouse?
Yes, please. So the next 2 days, well, not 2 days, but tomorrow from 11 until 3, I will be out at the Fairview Heights warehouse for anyone that wants to come and pick up PPE. I will also be there on the Tuesday, the 12th from 10 to 2 to do pickup. For those that aren't aware, the new warehouse space is not normally manned. So I'm actually going to basically sit on the forklift because it's the only chair we have over there. So during that 4-hour window, come pick it up. We have gowns, gloves, face shields coming out the yin yang. We've got shoe covers, we've got coveralls, we've got N95s, the isolation masks, both the ear loop and the surgical string tie type. Phil, what am I forgetting? We have some sanitizing wipes and a few other things. Most of the material that we're trying to get rid of is COVID materials, things that came in during the COVID window that will age out if we don't make use of it. He just dropped the address in the chat. But please do let us know. You can register on the member planet. That way, at least I have some clue if people are coming. I know we have folks coming on both days, but it just helps me to know that people will be there. Yeah, just feel free, come on out. There will be resources there for you to take with you.
Yes, I can't echo it enough. We got the new warehouse space. We've cleaned out everything that we have here on our campus at Belleville, maybe 90% of what we have here on the campus at Belleville. And we need to make room and reestablish our warehouse operations there. So we're going to do these 2 dates. And then after that, it's like gangrene. We're going to cut off what we can't use or what we can't effectively manage. So whatever that is, we're going to get rid of it so we can have an effective warehouse space. Okay, so I see you, Tyler. Hopefully we'll see you there, and hopefully we can provide you with some stuff that you can actually use, whether it's day to day or for an emergency. So there's all kind of stuff out there. So I know what he said out there, but there's some other things that are out there too that we'll probably need to part ways with.
Anybody needs backboards, we got plenty.
Yeah, we got plenty of backboards. As you can see there, next coalition meetings, January 3rd. I don't know what everyone's thought is about the 3rd. I know it's right after the holiday. Do we want to push it back to the 10th? I will be here on the 3rd, and we can still do it unless someone has any strong reservations. I'm willing to keep it there at the 3rd, but I'm open to moving it to the 10th. Does anyone think otherwise? Okay, not hearing none. We'll keep it scheduled there. And then those are some of the courses Lee was talking about. We got a wilderness search and rescue course coming up, a search management course. And then, as always, I keep the solar eclipse there until we get eclipsed by it here soon. So second half of the meeting today is integrated preparedness planning workshop. We had a actual workshop scheduled. I forgot what day it was, Lee, but a couple weeks ago that was scheduled. But many of you probably saw the email that I forwarded out. We had to kind of hold it there. We kind of had to or cancel it because we only had, I think, maybe 4 or 5 folks actually sign up for it. And this is something that we really, really, really need participation on. We really, really need your participation on from a coalition perspective. So we're going to use today, and because we did not have a secondary theme plan, so we'd use today since it is our quarterly meeting, and we normally have a little more time set aside for it to discuss what we're going to be doing with this workshop and what the true goals of it is, what the true goal of it is, and what we're trying to accomplish through this. We have talked about it for a while. We've been working on a strategic plan for a while, and this is what it's all going to fold into. For those of you who, if you go out there and look, and on the shared drive out there, when you look at the strategic plan, there's a 5-year plan. This will be the newer version of that will incorporate our strategic mission, vision, goals, objectives, all of those things alongside our training and exercise calendar. So what you will see, if we haven't already done so, I know Lee was working on a survey for that, but we'll be asking you for what your plans are over the next 3 to 5 years with exercises, because we want to make sure that we're publishing that and giving folks an opportunity to partner with you and support you. Sometimes folks don't know what they don't know. So we want to make sure that we get that information out as well. So a lot to go along with it. Since Lee put these slides together, I'm going to ask you, Lee, to kind of walk through. walk through what we have here. And then we're going to open up for some questions and a little bit of open discussion for everyone here. So I'm going to pause now and I will turn it over to Lee. You just tell me slide, and I'll keep it moving.
Well, you can bounce to the next one, I guess. So the whole goal was just to conduct an IPPW, the Integrated Preparedness Planning Workshop, formerly known as a multi-year training and exercise plan. Or a training and exercise planning workshop. That was the previous name of this, but the idea is we identify what our priorities are. We come up with a goal. You know, what is our schedule going to look like? We want to do trainings and exercises, and what are those windows going to look like? And then how we report it, and you know how we conduct our review of all of it. Go ahead and the next slide. Let me get a drink of coffee. So again, it's the same thing I just basically stated. It just goes through the whole cycle. So one of the things we've been as an industry really bad about is following the cycle. We buy a lot of crap, but we don't do a lot of training and exercising to see if the crap that we bought is going to meet the need that we wanted it for. So that's part of our process going forward, is to try to revise that, stop buying as much stuff and start buying the stuff that actually meets the objectives. And the way to do that is training and exercise, and then figuring out what's broken, fixing it. So we'll look at our threats, our hazards, our risks. We'll look at the priorities that we've established either internally or what comes down from HPP. Phil, if you bounce over to the next one, I believe, nope, keep going, one more. So this is what we had devised and agreed to as a coalition several months ago, back in like August, I believe it was. And it gives us kind of like what our general focuses are per the budget periods. So for, 24, it was radiation and pediatrics. We're going to conduct tabletops and, functionals. Those are our primary things that we focus on, right? Going into budget year 2025 and the fiscal year 25, we've got, pediatrics carries over. The idea being that during that first secondary focus window, as it were, we're doing kind of some training and mitigation. And then in 25, we would be doing like a actual exercising to see if what we did worked, and if not, what do we got to do to correct it. At the same time, we start doing some training on earthquakes, and then the following year we would stress earthquakes with exercises and drills to determine if what we've done is successful, and so on and so forth, until we get down into like every few years we'll do a full scale exercise, which we have slated for 27. The idea being to focus on chemical response and evacuation training, and then a full scale in that realm. Now, what that will be is yet to be determined, since that's still a ways out. And it could all be affected by what the NOFO says as it comes out with all of the new details. But this kind of identifies the fiscal years and the budget periods, and what we were either told to do previously or what we think we're wanting to do going forward. If anyone has suggestions on areas or topics, this is the kind of thing we're going to talk about during the IPPW and ensure that we hit it all. Phil, if you go to the next slide. Again, this just gives you an idea where we pull some of these requirements from, the actual, whether it's legal or passed down requirements from IDPH, ASPR, TJC, HFAB, and or just the menagerie of bad things that could happen on a given day. This is what we're using to define those priorities. Next slide. Our goals that we've established, and this comes from our strategic plan. So it identifies, hey, our first goal is going to be the cash assessment. We got a warehouse. We have all that crap that I alluded to earlier. Does the crap we have meet the goal that we need? We're going to conduct a comprehensive assessment, figure out, hey, does it work? The question is going to be, what do we do is setting a timeline for this? What's going to be our goal for when? And this just kind of gives you on the right here kind of some of the objectives of this goal, whether it's identifying things that are expired and damaged like we're working on now to try to get rid of, to be able to have space to replace it with new equipment or more modern equipment like we are with the telemetry unit, things of that nature. The funding, figuring out, hey, what's the most appropriate way to fund this? What's the amount we're going to need on an annual or semi-annual or multi-year process? And then getting the supplies by whatever means and getting rid of the stuff we don't need. If you go to goal two is evacuation planning. We've actually sat through a couple of briefs when we were there at the IAM that focused on evacuation. And I think that kind of reinforced the fact that, yeah, we probably need to look at this a little more because, yeah, we don't look at it enough, I think, especially when it's that earthquake that Phil alluded to earlier. You know, if it's something big and we're moving people a long way off, I can tell you, Eric and I have already had conversations about NDMS, and we talk about taking patients from affected areas, but what if we're the affected area and how do we get rid of them? That conversation has started, trying to figure that out. But that's where we look at our gap analysis. You know, what do we have? What's our evacuation plan for the region and for the state? What's the state going to do for us, or what's the Fed going to do for us? And what do we got to do on our own? And then our goal is to eventually, not right away, obviously, but eventually have a full plan that is flexible and executable. When we go into goal 3, that's going to be our backup power resilience. We've had numerous instances over the past couple of years of facilities reaching out to say either, hey, we've lost power, and or, hey, we're afraid we're going to lose power because the generator's wonky. So we want to try to address some of that. We also fear the earthquake component of it. I would lay dollars to pesos that if you walked through a lot of the facilities within our region, not specifically healthcare, but just across the spectrum, and you look at the way they're anchored, for those that took that class in 16, you'd find they're anchored incorrectly and they're going to shake themselves apart when a quake hits. So we want to try to identify that and come up with some proposals and what the funding cost would be to try to help fix some of those issues using grant dollars, because that's kind of what preparedness is, right? Is making sure we're mitigating issues before they become issues. So yeah, that's our goal 3 for how we do that. And as far as, you know, each individual facility, it's going to require some assistance from everybody. So when we go to goal 4, sustain and enhance the patient decon. You know, we've put a lot of time and energy, and in some instances, blood, sweat, and tears into developing this course that we have. And I think that the course that we have, you know, is an outstanding program. I mean, we've done a great deal with it. However, there's a lot more to be done. We need a lot more than, you know, the Lee and Scott show to run this program and make it viable and make it sustainable. And, you know, so we have talked about doing additional train the trainer courses, trying to get additional instructors spun up. We need to establish what that window is going to look like, what that timeline is going to look like, what our courses are going to look like. I will deviate one moment and say, I've sent out twice now emails with, hey, please click this survey and let me know if you want to run a decon course or not. It's a yes or a no. I need to have a response from all the hospitals. That way I know that everybody got it and we can figure out how we're going to make sure everybody gets trained. So please, if you haven't responded to that, which a lot haven't, please go in and just complete that survey for us. But that in there lies on what we're doing for the decon capability. It also helps us figure out what equipment we're replacing every year, because we will have some equipment that ages out, has to be replaced, and so on and so forth. When we go into goal 5, yes, Eric.
Yeah,
I see a hand up.
Yeah, sorry, man. Me personally, Lee, I would, I can tell you that I would be more inclined to help you out with your decon training, but, you know, I always tell you about what my challenges are, but I'd be at least more inclined to help you out if I'm hearing you say that a lot of people don't respond to your emails. I think I traditionally do. Yep. So if I get an email that says, hey, I'm actually looking for some help here, can you help? I will answer one way or another, and hopefully other people would hop on board with that. Because when I just see a schedule, I'm not a big fan, never have been, of inviting myself to your party. So if you actually come out and say, could we get some help with this class? Maybe it should be assumed. I don't know, but that would help me.
Absolutely, and I do have. I've started to build the schedule for the next year, and yes, you did respond to the survey twice. Yep. I might add.
Twice, so, yes.
Good on you. But the going forward cycle, we will, especially as we get more instructors spun up, it'll be a lot easier for us to reach out. Right now, it has been assumed because honestly, out of the instructors that we trained, truthfully told, you're the only one from the original course that's come out and helped teach recently. So that we'll make sure we get that looped in. And as we build these out, we'll actually hopefully get into more of a program management perspective to where we just kind of help line it out who's going to teach what, much like we do with ITLS or ACLS or any of those.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I saw another hand go up.
That was Patrick Small.
Yes, I was going to let you know that we'd be happy to host more, not just for HSHS colleagues, but we have the room, we have the capabilities of practicing afterwards. So if that's something that would be helpful to set up a couple times a year, I would love to sit down with you and get that scheduled, and we can host here for multiple different agencies.
Excellent, excellent. We will definitely follow up with you. I mean, at this point, it is a matter of just getting everybody, getting it. We got to get a base level. We got to get everybody spun up, get them going, and I think things will really move. I know our compadres down in region. I'm sorry, go ahead.
That was you. It was just an echo from someone.
Oh, okay. Our compadres in the southern region, in Region 5, down in the Spark Coalition, have actually expressed great interest in adopting our core curriculum and using it for their region as well, because it works and it's documented. So, but we'll follow more on that to come as we start to build out the 24 training schedule. And if you would go ahead and Phil, bounce on over to 6. Or well, I guess we're at it. Region 5 or number 5. Yeah, PPE. This is we talked about again the caches of equipment. So N95s, gloves, gowns, face shields, so on and so forth. All the stuff I'm trying to get rid of right now. We'd like to kind of come up with what is the appropriate amount for us to store, and what is the appropriate equipment for us to store, and ensure that everyone is able to use and fit test the equipment that we store. And making sure that people are, as a region, as well protected as we can. And that doesn't mean us buying things for daily use. It means us making sure that what we have on hand will work for you when that daily use stuff is no longer available. So there will be more to come on this as well as we work on that cache development. The Stop the Bleed, we talked about this earlier. We really want to get this pressed. We as a system, when I say system, I mean region, have purchased 2 Stop the Bleed training kits. Those kits can be checked out and used to do training. Here's the catch to that. We ask that whatever gets used is replaced, because they are cost prohibitive as far as if we keep buying the same stuff over and over and over. We're pretty good about replacing as we use right now, but when we use a lot of the my mind went blank, the combat gauze and the various other items, yeah, that does add up. What we can do is check those out, get them going, start getting some courses on the books so we can budget in replacement costs. And that's kind of where we want to go, is establishing X number of trainings and, getting a group of coalition, instructors, basically, where we can come together from all the different HSOs. I know Eric, volunteered Anderson to help. I know there's plenty of us across this region that would be exemplary, partners in this program. And it's just one of those things, we've talked about it for years, and we've never really fully executed it. This is one of our goals, is to get this up and running. We've seen the need. I mean, we just saw the other day, there was another mass shooting. I mean, this is something that is just common, and it may not necessarily be a shooting. It could be car wrecks or any other reason. Training folks is a good thing. So we'll go into pediatric surge preparedness next. Go ahead.
On the Stop the Bleed, we are actually starting to get several requests in through schools and RSO officers or SRO officers wanting Stop the Bleed done in the schools. I know MedStar is working with me to do a couple of them with our Stop the Bleed kits because I wasn't available to teach.
Yeah, we brought that up earlier. I think you weren't on the call yet. And Eric Brandmeyer's volunteered to come out and help with that. And like I said, I know we've got others that definitely could help with this. especially when it's in your local community. And that's our goal. This is a regional initiative, not just a Belleville centric initiative. It's just Belleville made the first ask. But my hope is as we start to get this out, that we'll see more and more of this. This is a great way for us as a healthcare region to be able to show our communities that, hey, we're here to help you even when you're not in the hospital. Or not in the back of an ambulance, or maybe help you not have to go in a hospital or the back of an ambulance, things of that nature. But as far as pediatric surge preparedness goes, let's face it, that big earthquake comes, we're going to be stuck with kids that we would not normally otherwise have. So we're going to look at what are the capabilities, come up with things we can do to kind of help bolster that capability across the region. This is going to be a work in progress. It's going to take a lot of effort and energy from a lot of folks. And it'll help us to ensure that, should that time ever come, or God help us, we have another massive pandemic that affects kids more than adults, that, we're ready to react and respond appropriately. Another one of those kind of inherent weaknesses in the system is burn surge. We just don't deal with a lot of it, which is good. We don't have a lot to deal with, but I mean, it does occur. And if we have incidents that involve large numbers of burn-related injuries, we need to kind of help everybody. And we've looked at the opportunities for some burn-related training from the American Burn Association, as well as specific supplies and building caches of equipment and resources that could be sent out on an as-needed basis, things of that nature. So, we've also looked at how can we factor more burn-related things into exercises and drills that we do normally, as well as dedicated drills for that, or dedicated exercises for that. If anyone has recommendations, suggestions, or other input on burn-related stuff, especially from a hospital-centric side, preparing EDs that don't deal with it to deal with it, please reach out. So far, I've found the American Burn Association to be a good resource, but I'm hoping there's more than just one, because the more there is, the better.
Lee, there's another group. It's from a university that I get emails every month on updates that they're doing, and they have, I think, quarterly meetings.
Okay, so we'll have to look into that. I know Phil and I talked to was it University of Utah that I think runs a program as well. But
I think that's the one I'm talking about. I'm on their mailing list, so they send me all their updates.
So are we. So we need to try to do that and coordinate with the Region 5 burn group, because there should be one here somewhere. But again, this is where we're going to be looking for input and help from everyone. And if we go into goal 9.
Lee, on the burns, I just wanted, this is Brody with Barnes Jewish Hospital. I just wanted to bring up, because I'm sure rumors will start coming out on it, but Mercy Hospital did let their burn accreditation go. That still does not change anything. They still have a burn unit. They just chose not to do the accredited process. But I just wanted to throw that out there, that just in case you guys are hearing those rumors. But they still, we're still kind of the burn resource for the region.
Good to know. Okay. I hadn't heard that yet, but when we talk about this goes back, the mission ready packages kind of goes back towards the cache assessment that we talked about earlier. The idea behind a mission ready package is right now we got a lot of stuff sitting in trailers, and those trailers are degrading and deteriorating. The material inside of those trailers degrades and breaks down because of extremes of temperature and weather and just all the other fun stuff associated with it. Our kind of federal goals that they've done is to develop MRPs. The mission ready packages are not stored in a trailer. They're stored in a warehouse on pallets or skids that can be loaded and then taken out as needed, so that they're kept in an easier to maintain, rotate, and whatnot. So our goal right now, as far as from a regional perspective, is to try to develop our own mission ready packages, so that, hey, let's say we have to evacuate somewhere. We call and ask for an alternate care site or an evacuation packet, and we send out some, pallets with resources. These kind of things are what we're looking to do, and there will be more coming as we start with the cache assessment. What do we have, and then how do we organize it is what this comes down to. So you will see some surveys coming out because we do want to find out what the trailer conditions are for what we have within the region. Not just the stuff that stars looked at previously, but everything that's available in the region. Figure out, where it's at, what its condition is, what needs to be replaced, and even if it's a viable product to continue to keep, or if it's something that, we can better use those resources elsewhere. So more to come on that. And what I would say is all of this is going to be a group effort. We're going to want people from everywhere to contribute. I don't want this to be something that falls on our office alone, because what works for us may not work for everyone else. So we want input from everyone possible. So that's the goals. So we had the 9 goals that were identified in the strategic plan. When we talk about the multi-year schedule, you can go ahead and bounce over the training and opportunities that we've got. So this is just a list of the links you see on the right here. Is just a list of the different National Domestic Preparedness Consortium providers, as well as IEMA offers a variety of courses that are useful. There's some information that's pertained there that could, pertaining there, I should say, that could benefit us. If we go to the next slide, though, what we want to look at is we talked about the things we had on our budget plan, where they fall. And then next to it is some training types, some things that we think might be of benefit, and then dates that we're kind of thinking we would want to bring this stuff in. For the pediatric surge, there's that emergency nurses, whatever PC means. I know it's emergency nurse. I remember that part. But the ENPC and the EPC, I shouldn't have used abbreviations, but I wanted the slide to be on one screen. And kind of when we're looking at it. And then the same thing for the earthquake. We brought in the 154 and the ATC 20 course in the past. There's also some other courses that FEMA has brought out since then that are pertinent to earthquake, especially for those facility related folks. And for the EMS side of the house, some of this material is really great because it'll help you to determine, is it safe for you to go in there to get to that guy? That's kind of where that focus is. The toxic industrial chemicals and materials, the ChemPack training, all of that. We've done obviously decon training previously, but the hazmat IQ, we brought that in right before COVID. We're considering that again. If anyone has good sources for evacuation related training, we're always looking for outside trainers that can come in, maybe give a different perspective. The HCID, your Ebolas and your other high consequence diseases, we are looking at different opportunities for that. The used to be the National Ebola Training and Education Center, but they changed what the acronym means now. But we've talked to them in the past about trying to come in and do some training. Same thing with burn surge. We've looked at the radiation component of it with the Radiation Injury Treatment Network, but there's some of the other organizations that we can pull from. Again, anyone has suggestions, ideas, please let us know. The timelines that you see broken down there are simply based off of the fiscal years. So, but that's just a general gist of where we're at for the next 5 grant periods, theoretically. The exercise schedule, there's all a variety of exercise we can do. Seminars and workshops, they're not really an exercise, but I mean, we get something from it. We learn from it. We develop plans and annexes from it that we can then exercise in the tabletops. We can take what we learn from the tabletop and build it into a functional. Functional basically just means that, we don't necessarily move resources, but we focus on one area to see if it works. And then full scale, we're moving things. You got tires turning, you got people showing up at your ED, you got all the fun stuff that goes along with simulating as close to real as, as bad situation as we can. One of the things we do, at least in the RHCC side of it, is we try to document everything using the Homeland Security Exercise and Evaluation program, that the standards that come down from FEMA, so that everything's tracked. We have our after actions, we have all of the improvement planning, we have all of the documentation that goes forward to help us with all the various accreditations that everybody has to check off. But more importantly, it helps us to actually ensure that our program really does work and that we do continue to go forward. And again, in the past, there's been a lot of these exercises that we've built internally and then sent out to the region. We're going to start trying to pull more people in and building a exercise planning team for each of these, so that it's less what we say and what everyone as a whole or the team as a whole says, to ensure that we're checking everything, and it scales from, you know, whether it's Boyd or Chester to Gateway. I mean, your threat hazards are totally different. So we want to try to factor that in when we do our development. If we go on to the next slide, we'll get into kind of where we're looking at schedules. This gives us an idea based off, again, off the fiscal year for pediatric surge, tabletop exercise. It's really hard to simulate that in any kind of real scale. The earthquake, I would rather not actually, you know, do that in a real scale because that gets messy. But we can do tabletops in the functionals. The walkthroughs that we've done previously, I would phase as a functional exercise. We're looking at things and doing things a little differently. When we get into the toxic industrial chemicals, you know, we did one this last year, right? We did our coalition test that was a tabletop that was based off of a, you know, hazardous materials incident. We can do the same thing again with ChemPack like we've done previously, and then the next year do a full scale. I think it's important when we talk about the ChemPack that we do practice that whole, hey, how do we get this from here to there? How long is it going to take? All that kind of fun stuff. Evacuation, we would definitely want to do tabletops, and then at some point do either functional or potentially full scale exercises. For the highly communicable infectious diseases, you know, again, tabletop exercise is a great place to start, and then start doing what we've talked about and not done yet is actually, at least not in recent times, done a functional where we put somebody in an isopod and we move them, and we see the hindrances that come with that. The burn surge that you see there in BP5, that's basically going to be a tabletop, and then BP6 or, you know, BP1 as it were, would go back to either a functional or a full scale again. That's kind of the goal, the plan. And each of these will need a planning team to help to collaborate and coordinate. And we'll have more on that, as well as some training on, you know, what that entails as we get further into the program. And then the last thing here, this was a discussion I actually had with Eric, because the VA running the National Disaster Medical System, yeah, they do their federal coordinating center exercises where they practice bringing us patients, and this is kind of what their schedule looks like based off the conversations he and I had actually last week. So in 24, he's going to run a tabletop. 25, he's going to try to run a functional, and in 26, run a full scale. For those that participated in this last full scale, it went well. At least from my side of things, it went well. We learned some things. We figured out some things that hopefully we can address and fix in the future. So this is something that they land in our coalition, and we need to be prepared in the event that something happens. We may have to take patients from a large scale incident or a large scale storm. So happy to work with them on that. And then the next is the program reporting, and kind of the goal at this point is just to come up with some form of an annual report. The idea being, hey, we can show back what we've done over the last year, and at the end over the last 5 years, to be able to you know, as they say in high school, show your work, right? This is going to let us show the math that got us to where we are, and help us to formulate and go forward in the future. The review component, which is the next slide, is basically just that. It's just, hey, we're going to review everything and go from there. And then our last slide is next steps, which is putting together all these little committees and planning teams and beginning to form and shape for the future. So as Phil said earlier, there'll be some surveys coming out, and hopefully, Lord willing and the creek don't rise, we can get back to in-person meetings at least occasionally to really kind of knock some of this stuff out face to face. It's so much easier to do it that way for the planning side. And that's all I have there, Phil. Go ahead, Eric.
Awesome. Eric, yeah, go ahead.
First of all, Lee, that was good stuff. 2 questions. Do we still have intent we talked about this seemingly a while back, that we would put together a regional evacuation plan?
Yes.
Okay, because I think that would be something really beneficial, because we all think we know what we're doing, It's kind of like an earthquake. We think we all know what we're doing until we actually take a look at it. And I think that could be really messy if we didn't have a overarching plan. Secondly, you brought up with the decon and basically what the program that you guys envisioned and put together is seemingly taken off. Other regions recognize how incredibly awesome training all the hospitals who are interested the same way, with basically, you could argue, making us interchangeable. Isn't that cool? But along those lines, I had a lucid moment and recognized that, wow, I really need to take a look at my decon supplies. And if most of you are like me, perhaps you might be having some stuff expire. Would that be something that we could think about doing from a regional side to get basically pool if I'm not alone and a number of people need some restock of their decon PPE, it could be done from a regional perspective and maybe get it cheaper?
So I'll let Phil give the definitive answer, but my mind says that's what we did the first time. I bought everything and distributed it out. What I will say, if we go this route and we do this as a region again, we ran into a lot of challenges when we did it the first time. That's why I still have stuff sitting in a warehouse that nobody ever came to get. And, it's, as you said, Eric, it's expiring out. So I think if we do this going forward, we're going to have to come up with a better process by which to ensure distribution and ensure that everything's maintained. I'm happy, at least from my side of things, to support that, but I'll leave that up to Daddy Warbucks Phil there to make the determination on the best approach.
So with that, I will say, Eric, in that as a part of the PPE or the cash assessment, in part of that, we need to account for those type of things. So the biggest hurdle that we do have is having equipment, and for the equipment that never gets used, it never gets replenished, or we don't have a cycle for that. So the sustainability tail, we want to really, really outline so we're able to effectively do these things, to make sure, because I do agree with Lee in the fact that, it was difficult upon, start. How much of that does it eat up, your budget year by year? But I do think that we do have some room, when we look at it from the 50,000 foot level to where we can say, okay, yeah, because we're gonna maintain a PPE cache some way, shape, or form. How we sustain that cache is gonna be the crux of being able to ensure that those levels don't go too far down for everyone, and it will take some give and take. Some stuff, you're just going to have to buy from an organizational perspective, and then have an outlook to say, over time, we'll be able to replenish ourselves. We will get some support from the region. It's just going to be kind of difficult to fully support it. And when I say that, it means just we buy it every year, or we buy a certain amount every year, because as in part of that strategic planning process, we know that sometimes budgets are always not the same. We lucked out in this last budget period, the last 5 years, that we received a pretty consistent amount of funds. I'm not sure what the future holds. So if we don't know what that is in the future, maybe we can do it as a percentage of the budget. But we got to kind of have to factor those things in. I got some ideas on that, but that's going to be the outgoing portion of it, the outgoing years, to get it really established. So I am open to doing it, but I just want to make sure that we have some way that we can sustain whatever that is. And we have to prepare for some way, shape, or form, them saying, oh, the whole HPP program, the whole thing, ASPR, oh yeah, we're not funding it anymore. We always have to keep that in mind, the back of our mind too. So I am open to it. Just want to make sure that we really, really focus on sustainment. And for everyone else that's on the call listening to this portion, the biggest hurdle we're going to have to make sure that we can, you saw some of these goals and objectives that were listed. We probably won't have all 9. In the end, they may be cut down to 4 or 5, and prioritize and still have those, kind of some of the 6 through 9 floating in the background, so to speak. But the hardest thing that we're going to face is being able, and this is what I see. Let me preface it with this. I've seen this now I've been looking for the last 5 years across other healthcare coalitions. When I attend these strategic planning meetings or we attend the conferences, the one thing that every one of these coalitions seems to lack, there are a few that got it nailed down, but with the strategic vision, we don't have a deliberate plan on what we are preparing for. So, a surge is a function of some type of catastrophe, whether it's a pandemic or it is from an earthquake, right? An evacuation is from some sort of catastrophe, whether it's a fire or it is an earthquake. You can change the hazard a million times, but you're going to perform a specific function, correct? So we need to kind of figure out what that is for us in our region and know what our capabilities are, and more importantly, know what those limitations are, because we can't infinitely prepare for everything. And sometimes I feel like that's what we're doing. So when we go through this integrated planning workshop, we're going to be tailoring things to keep us well-rounded and prepared, but the end goal we will need to have an end state in mind that everyone can be pushing towards together. So that's a big part of, and I'll say that I'm bringing some of my previous life in the military to the forefront, but that's a big part of the deliberate planning process, and that's what helps strategic plans all across the globe. And it doesn't always have to be military. That's corporate as well. You have to have an end state in mind to be able to work towards. So we're going to have to outline that, and that's going to be a part of that workshop as well. So there'll be plenty of conversation. I would say that probably no, I won't say 70, maybe 60% of the conversation will probably surround that first during the workshop. So when you see that invitation, this is the primer for it. So this is part of the workshop, one, understanding what we're looking to do. But when you see the email go out for participating in that workshop, I'm encouraging everyone to take part in it, and bring some to the table. Don't think that what you're going to bring is not worth it, or someone's not going to listen to it. We want, I don't have all the answers. Lee doesn't have all the answers. Eric Brandmeier don't have all the answers. Scott Klossman don't have all the answers. Mike Gilbert don't have all the answers. Greg Atterbury and Beth Bussman don't have all the answers. But collectively, we ask enough questions, we can refine what we're doing as best as possible and make it achievable for us, and making sure that we're not wasting all the fraud, waste, and abuse that does go on potentially within the federal government and state government. It's not for a lack of trying. Sometimes we try really hard to get things done in the best interest of our citizenry, and for us, our patients. And in that hard work, we kind of lose some ground with funding, because we throw the kitchen sink at it, but then that's the buying of 1,000,000,001 things, and then not having a sustainment tail and ability to support it over time. And that's where I want us to stay away from as much as possible. So please be involved in this. I appreciate Lee for taking the time out to kind of explain some of the things there and boil it down to a very logical sequence. I do think we'll be able to achieve that and be able to be complete with our strategic plan Q1 of 2024, maybe into Q2, but ready to start off July 2024 on the right foot, and continue to grow as a coalition. So said a lot to say. I need your support in this. Really looking forward to your support, and making sure that we have a product that works for everyone. So what other questions, concerns do folks have about the IPP? and how we're going forward, or what you'd like to see, or anything like that. We still have a few minutes here for those that are still on. 7 Mississippis. Okay. So hearing none, I will say again, thank you to each of you guys. For those, before you jump off, we did not get a chance to mention it during the main portion of the briefing, but HVAs, your hazard vulnerability assessments, I sent out copies. I sent them out on the 25th of October, minutes from the HVA working group. I also sent them out this morning along with the minutes from the previous month's meeting. So the meeting that we had on, I think it was 11/1. But your HVAs for the hospitals, I need copies of your HVAs sent to the info@swillhope.org email address, so we can have them consolidated. As we discussed on the HVA workshop, the 10th, or excuse me, the October coalition meeting, the HVA workshop, and last month, we got to have those. In the suspense date for those are the 15th. So 12/15/2023 was the suspense date. Is a suspense date for that. So we still got 9 days, but we hadn't received any. So I wanted to make sure that I got the word back out to you guys. Again, please, I will send out another email specifically to the hospitals to make sure that we get those, but we want to make sure that we consolidate that information. And as a reminder, the coalition project requests closed out on the 30th. So I'll start to consolidate those. It's closed out on the 30th of November. I will begin to consolidate those and see what we have as far as submissions for I'm going to call it BP1. So it'll be budget period 1, FY25. I will take a look at those and see where we're at with those. I have no idea what funding looks like right now. And the question I see, Tara said, yeah, I sent that out via email, but Tara, I will forward it to you as well. I want to make sure that you still have, Tara, do you still have your Member Planet account? Because that's the method, that's the email address group that I sent it out to. So I will send that out again and I will forward it to you right now, Tara. So, all right. Any last questions, comments, concerns from anyone? Okay, hearing none, I want to thank everybody again. Hopefully you guys have a Merry Christmas coming up. Celebrate it with friends and family or for the holidays. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, hopefully you can find some snow or some skis somewhere if that happens later this year. And I hope you guys all have a happy new year, and we will see you on the 3rd of January 2024. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. You guys take care.